Chapter 3. Are you ready for the truth? In 1973, Princeton professor Burton Malkiel made a startling claim. He wrote in his book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, a blindfolded monkey throwing darts at a newspaper's financial pages could select a portfolio that would do just as well as one carefully selected by experts. Well, it turns out that Malkiel was wrong. Monkeys can actually do better than the experts at picking stocks. A group of researchers from research affiliates proved this by gathering 100 monkeys and having them throw darts at a newspaper's stock pages. The result? The average monkey outperformed the index by an average of 1.7% per year since 1964. Take-home message? You got to get some monkeys. Of course, those who invest heavily in stocks know that they can reasonably predict ROI based on their portfolio beta, size, and value. But think about the rest of the population, those who don't live, eat, and breathe small cap tilts and value versus growth stocks. What do? They rely on their financial expert to do the thinking for them. If that describes you and your financial planner, it's not your fault. We trust people with the right degrees and proper certifications for everything in life. Would you go to a 5-star chef to do your taxes? Or would you go to a taxidermist for open heart surgery? Of course not. We trust the people we're supposed to trust because that's how life works. We live within well-defined societal constructs. However, after this book, you will know better. And when you know better, you have a responsibility to do better. The investment vehicles that everyone should be using are not the ones that receive all the attention. I'm talking about vehicles that provide maximum ROI plus the added benefit of receiving cash flow throughout their use. The investments that society wants you to use do not provide this cash flow advantage. And when you do the math, you'll see that the traditional financial game plans, they don't actually work for anyone, from the average American to those earning higher income. Through the use of some calculations, you'll discover how society's plan will leave you devoid of 90% of the money that you need to retire with confidence. The tunnel of broken dreams. Let's do a quick breakdown on society's currently accepted retirement path. I call this inferior path the tunnel of broken dreams. These phases will likely sound familiar since there's a good chance you're currently somewhere in the tunnel yourself. Phase 1, get a degree and a full-time job. First, you must go to college. This is, of course, the only possible way to earn enough money to carry out the remainder of the steps. After college, you'll need to work for somebody else within a company that provides a steady income and hopefully benefits. This will ensure you have a regular paycheck safety net and can provide security for your family. Once you get this job, you just keep doing it without ceasing for the next 40 years. You are, of course, welcome to climb the corporate ladder and or make lateral transitions to find a company culture that suits you best. Maybe you'll even find a company with a PlayStation in the break room and free snacks. Dare to dream. Phase 2, plan for your retirement. According to this plan, real living and freedom begin at retirement. Sure, you're going to have to work extraordinarily hard for 40 plus years and scrimp and save and get that 30-year mortgage paid off in 12 years. But the good news is after you retire, you will be able to live off of your investment income, savings accounts, and the no doubt ample Social Security you've amassed, because everyone knows that Social Security provides us with more than enough. Of course, a critical piece of the plan is to buy a house and pay off the note as quickly as possible. Have extra cash one month? Well, why not take the surplus and make an extra mortgage payment? The more money you can throw at your mortgage and keep out of your higher ROI investments, the better. And then phase 3, live the dream life forever. Follow this rock-solid plan and you'll be able to retire with enough money to live out the rest of your days comfortably and in style. And that's it. Simple as that. Listen to the experts. Work hard. Do what you're told. Retire in peace. Note, you won't actually have enough money to retire in peace, but at least you can feel good about the fact that you did what you were told. Let me summarize those 3 phases one more time of society's game plan. Phase 1, earn, which means go to college and get a job and make decent income. Phase 2, invest, buy a house and invest in the stock market in a number of ways. And phase 3, retire. Magically have enough money despite never earning more than single-digit ROIs. Statistics and reality have both proven this plan doesn't work. But who cares about statistics or truth, right? So where does this plan break down? And why does it fail for most average Americans? While I do take issue with the idea that everyone must go to a 4-year university, the real problem with this plan surfaces in phase 2. The recommended investment vehicles only produce single-digit ROIs, and compounding single-digit ROIs just don't produce enough money. In summary, the failure with society's plan comes down to failure to understand and utilize ROI. Society tells us to deposit our money into 401ks, IRAs, annuities, home equity, and the S&P 500. Then we're also told to diversify our retirement plans. But does society's game plan really leverage diversification? Let's take a closer look by defining the word. Definition time. Diversification. Noun. Investing in a wide variety of different asset classes in multiple industries. Diversification does not mean investing in different assets, various S&P 500 stocks, within the same asset class, the stock market. But wait, 401ks, IRAs, annuities, and money market accounts are all just single-digit ROI derivatives of the stock market. Does that really represent diversification? It does not. When all of your investments produce a small ROI derived from the same place, well, that's not exactly the definition of diversified, is it? Failure in one asset class, such as losing money in the stock market, does not always correlate to failing in other asset classes, such as losing home value in the real estate market. The big picture idea here is that in your lifetime, nearly every asset class is bound to experience massive loss. So true diversification is about spreading the risk over several asset classes. One of my mentors, Ray Dalio, says, you have truly de-risked your portfolio when you have allocated your assets into at least 15 different asset classes. Yes, there are that many. Here we go. The 5 outdated investment vehicles. As of now, there are 5 primary vehicles allowed inside the tunnel of broken dreams. Although you may be familiar with these vehicles, take a moment and read these brief descriptions to understand their underlying concepts and inherent flaws. Number 1, 401k, the front-end loader. A 401k is a retirement account that allows you to divert a portion of your salary into long-term investments. In many cases, employers match their employees' contributions up to a specific percentage. The return on investment, ROI, from a 401k is based on diversified stock market investments. I call a 401k the front-end loader of investment vehicles because it does pick up some money for you along the way and dump it into your retirement years, but it is slow-moving, clunky, and inefficient. Here are the relevant ROI stats that you need to know about the average 401k. First, the 30-year average ROI is 5%. Returns are based on the stock market, but with the 5% ROI, do you know how long it will take to double your money? About 14.4 years. Now, just consider for a moment that you're going to be working for 30 to 40 years. You don't have an opportunity inside of a 401k to double your money that many times. After a sophisticated analysis of your 401k's performance over 30 years, experts say a 5% return appears to be an accurate number to use for planning purposes. Add to that Fidelity Investments also says a good rule of thumb is to have 8 times your current salary saved for retirement. So that means if you're 60 years old, for example, and make $100,000 a year, your 401k balance, if you are relying on it to be a significant portion of your retirement nest egg, should at least be 8 times that, $800,000. Unfortunately, reality once again rears its ugly head to show us this is rarely the case. The average 401k balance for Americans in their 60s and supposedly ready to retire is just $93,400. So much for the 8 times your salary rule. And how does that make sense anyway? What kind of person would even feel comfortable with only 8 years worth of salary saved? What happens if you live longer? What about the fact that you're expected to live on less, even though retirees often spend more due to increased medical costs, travel, expenses? So the question becomes, should I put a portion of my salary into a 401k? I think you know the answer, but here's some of the other questions that you really should be asking yourself. Is it a good idea to depend on an investment vehicle whose single-digit ROI leaves me approximately 93% short of my goal? What is the benefit of a company match earning single digits that I can't touch or reinvest unless I leave the company? How do I feel knowing my 401k is loaded with hidden fees like administrative fees, investment advisory fees, and expense ratio fees? Do I feel confident knowing that just 6.8% of Americans can rely on their 401ks as their sole source of retirement income next to Social Security and pensions? The bottom line, right now, over half, 56% of US workers have a 401k. And yet, studies also reveal that almost half of the people who have a 401k will struggle to maintain their standard of living in retirement. Something just doesn't add up here. All right, society's investment vehicle number 2, the traditional IRA. I call this the bicycle. IRAs, both traditional and Roth, are standard popular vehicles that serve as tax-advantaged investment accounts. Returns from an IRA are based on diversified investments, again, found in the stock market. I refer to an IRA as a bicycle with a flower basket because it's cute and you can plod along casually along with your little basket of pristine pre-tax dollars, happy that you saved a few bucks on taxes in exchange for a single-digit return. The difference between the two main types of IRAs is contribution timing. With a traditional IRA, you make contribution with pre-tax dollars and pay income tax when you withdraw the funds later. The basic idea with the timing is to take advantage of the fact that when you retire, you'll find yourself in a lower tax bracket than you were in pre-retirement. With a Roth IRA, you make contributions with after-tax dollars. This means that you can receive distributions tax-free and penalty-free at your discretion after the fact, as long as you meet conditions such as being a certain age. Here are the relevant stats that you need to know about the average IRA. The 30-year average ROI is 7 to 10%. Returns are based on the stock market. The time it takes to double your money is approximately 12 years. According to experts, you can expect between 7 to 10% average annual returns. However, with inflation, it's wise to be more conservative and use 7% ROI in your calculations. CPAs and financial planners recommend utilizing an IRA to save money on taxes, as mentioned previously. Here's a simple example of how that works with a traditional IRA. If you make $60,000 a year and pay 15% in federal taxes, then putting $3,000 a year into a traditional IRA would lower your taxable income to $57,000 and hence save 15% of $3,000 of total savings, which is about $450. Now, keep in mind that the $3,000 will still be subject to taxation at the time of withdrawal, but fingers crossed, you'll be at a lower tax bracket. So the question becomes, should I use an IRA for the minor tax advantage and single-digit ROI? An IRA can save you a few dollars in taxes, but ask yourself the following questions. Does it make sense to pick up minor tax savings now on a traditional IRA when I'm still going to be taxed when I withdraw it later? Should I be depending on a secondary single-digit ROI investment vehicle that leaves me far short of my retirement goals? What multi-digit investment opportunities am I missing out on by locking my money in an IRA that in some cases tacks on a 10% penalty if I try to access it? The bottom line, in the end, an IRA is great for two things: a single-digit ROI and a guarantee that you'll never have enough money to retire comfortably. All right, society's third investment vehicle is the annuity. I call this one the ice cream truck. An annuity is a contract that makes regular payments to you either now or in the future. Returns from an annuity are based on diversified investments in the stock market. I call it the ice cream truck of financial vehicles because it slowly doles out the goal in bite-sized pieces. It will also stop making its rounds after the ice cream is gone. Here are the relevant ROI stats that you need to know about annuities. The 30-year average ROI is 3.27%. Returns are based on the stock market, and the time it takes to double your money, oh my gosh, 24 years. Your financial planner may recommend consolidating all 401ks, IRAs, and other similar investment accounts into an annuity when you retire. Essentially, your money gets locked into a secure stock market-based investment that allows the financial planner to guarantee an annual dividend that serves as your fixed income. So the question becomes, should I use an annuity to guarantee a fixed income? It's nice to have a known amount of guaranteed income, but ask yourself the following questions. Is a 3.27% dividend sufficient to help me achieve my financial goals? How do I feel knowing that the average man hits his peak annual earnings of $95,000 by age 53? This means that I would need to save $2.9 million for an annuity to match that same income post-retirement. I'm going to share more on that later with you. Also, do I think this is a realistic savings goal? Like, considering that the average retirement savings for workers in their 60s is only $170,000, like, could I even get to $2.9 million just to maintain my standard of living? And finally, would I be interested in only needing a third of that amount to retire by finding a way to significantly outperform an annuity? I hope you answer yes to that last question because it's why this book exists. The bottom line, the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies reports that the median retirement savings amount for U.S. workers in their 60s is $172,000. And if you were to annuitize this at the annual dividend of 3.27%, you would receive a mere $468.70 each month as your fixed income. There is no way on earth that a fixed income of less than $500 a month is sufficient to fund a carefree retirement. All right, society's fourth investment vehicle is the S&P 500. I call this the tractor. The Standard & Poor's, or S&P 500, is a market capitalization weighted index that tracks the stocks of 500 of the largest U.S. publicly traded companies. I call the S&P 500 the tractor of investment vehicles because it's reliable for single-digit returns, but slow and boring as heck to watch. Here are the relevant ROI stats that you need to know about the S&P 500. The 30-year average ROI is 7.96%. Returns are based on, the stock market again. And the time it takes to double your money on this one, 9 years. So essentially, your ROI from the S&P 500 is the average growth of the top 500 publicly traded companies in America, and the 7.96% ROI is calculated by looking at the returns from 500 stocks since 1957. Should I rely on the S&P 500 as an investment strategy? Listen, it's great to earn a solid ROI from the 500 most successful companies in America, but ask yourself these questions. Suppose I already have 401ks and IRAs and annuities based on the stock market. Does it make sense to have yet another single-digit investment that is also based on the stock market? Or why would I want to invest my money in a vehicle that requires decades to account for market fluctuations to create an average single-digit ROI? And what if I need to liquidate my stock portfolio when the market is down? Wouldn't it erase years of growth and end up in the red? The bottom line? There's nothing wrong with investing in the stock market, but at this point, all four of these socially accepted investment vehicles have been based on the stock market and deliver meager single-digit ROI. Are you starting to see the pattern of problem? Things are starting to feel a little redundant and uncreative, aren't they? And yet traditional financial advisors call this being diversified. And now, my friend, we get to society's fifth investment vehicle, home equity. I call this one the antique car. Your home equity is your home's value That is the difference between the home's fair market value, determined by an appraisal, and the outstanding balance of all liens on the property. So when you take out a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit, also referred to as a HELOC, H-E-L-O-C, you're using your home's equity as a collateral for the loan. I call your home equity the antique car of the traditional investment fleet because it's nice to look at and everyone enjoys owning it and bragging about it. But also, like an antique car, it doesn't actually take you anywhere. Here are the relevant stats that you really need to know about home equity. First of all, the average home value appreciation is 4.65% per year. This comes from average home value increases in the US since 1963. And the time it takes to double your money is about 15 years. I consider home equity to be an investment vehicle because it will comprise the lion's share of the majority of Americans' net worth by retirement. People love seeing their home equity increase, and that's understandable. It's their one-of-a-kind commodity, that rare antique in their asset column of which they're most proud. The home equity ROI may appear smaller compared to other investments discussed. Just remember that appreciation is not calculated on the money you invest, but rather the growth of the home and property's total value. So to further explain, the median home price in America in 2020 was $320,000. With an average annual appreciation of 4.65%, that equates to $14,880 in growth per year. Therefore, in reality, your home equity growth usually isn't starting from a zero balance. It's starting with the value of your home when you buy it. Should I view my home equity as an investment? Of course, still many people don't consider their home equity to be an investment compared to the more traditional market-based investments such as a 401k and an IRA. It's also hard to convince anyone with any common sense that a home equity loan is an investment, especially if you're forced to take out a home equity loan to use as a retirement income. It's great to earn a solid ROI on your home and work towards paying it off, but ask yourself the following questions. Even though my home increases in value over time, how can I call it an investment when it's more like a liability? It costs money every month and does not produce an income. If my home equity produces most of my assets in life, why am I not buying a lot more houses? And third, suppose my home equity grows by $200,000 over 20 years. Why not buy 4 more houses to produce an additional $1 million in personal net worth? The bottom line, it pains me to hear people talk about their greatest investment, their home, but then not amplify what works by buying more properties. If owning a home is the best way to grow your net worth, then why not do more of what works?